U.S. Secretary of Defense Austin recently said that the U.S. Central Command has deployed B-2A stealth bombers and launched multiple precision strikes on Iran-supported Yemeni Hussein weapons, destroying multiple Hussein weapons warehouses. This is the first time that a U.S. Air Force B-2 bomber has flown from the Guam base to the Red Sea in Yading Bay. Since the Gaza conflict broke out, Hussein weapons have launched hundreds of missile and drone attacks on the Red Sea. So why did the U.S. send B-2s against Hussein weapons? And which abilities of the B-2s did the U.S. value? Let's talk about it today. In fact, as an army with global strike capabilities, there are many ways for the U.S. military to strike Hussein weapons. As mentioned in the previous video, the Eisenhower Aircraft Carrier Battle Group has launched 770 missiles in the Red Sea to suppress Hussein weapons. If you are interested, you can click on the link below to learn more. But in fact, compared with the model of aircraft carrier battle groups stationed near the sea and relying on missiles to suppress Hussein weapons, airstrikes still have a lot of unique advantages. Because Hussein weapons have been in conflict with the United States for many years, they have long understood that their military scale and weapon modernization are not worth mentioning compared to the U.S. military. So why can Hussein weapons still be active for many years? This is largely because it hides well. This kind of hiding is not just to hide from the relevant personnel, but more importantly, it is to hide one's own weapons and protect one's key strategic materials. Many facilities are either buried deep underground or are difficult to destroy after special reinforcement, or are disguised as ordinary shapes. In this way, no matter how many times the U.S. military goes to the Red Sea, it can only hit the Hussein weapons that are exposed in similar actions. As for the Hussein weapons, the U.S. can't get rid of them all at once. In this way, even if the U.S. Navy gains absolute advantage in the early battle and successfully defeats the Hussein weapons one by one, once the U.S. Navy withdraws from this area, the Hussein weapons can be used to hide and accumulate for the next attack soon after the plan. In this case, it's okay to do it once or twice, but once the number increases, the U.S. military will be very annoyed and must find a way to dig out the Hussein weapons hidden deep underground. So in this case, we have to send fighters to strike on the inland areas of Yemen and hang a lot of drone bombs and large capacity bombs. In fact, in January this year, the U.S. military sent a large number of F-18 fighters from the Eisenhower aircraft carrier, destroying 3 anti-ship missile bases of the Hussein weapons. And since it's going to launch an air-to-ground strike, it's better to continue to increase the current scale and directly send a bigger bomber than the fighter to carry out the strike mission on the Hussein weapons. In fact, the U.S. Department of Defense has made it very clear. The reason why the U.S. military sent B-2s against the Hussein weapons is to tell the enemy clearly, no matter how hidden and difficult your underground weapon storage points are, the U.S. military has the ability to destroy them. But no matter how we look at this round of strike, there will be a feeling, that is, to use B-2s to deal with the Hussein weapons. Will it be a bit of a fortune? After all, the B-2 is a strike bomber developed in a Cold War background with deep penetration capability. It can penetrate the enemy's air defense network with its excellent stealth performance, penetrate the enemy's territory, launch a strike on the enemy's territory, and even launch nuclear weapons. Due to the design of the aircraft, it is a reference object developed by the Soviet Union in terms of air defense firepower and radar detection level as a stealth capability. The B-2 boldly adopts the wing design or the wing-body integration plan. It not only removes the wing of the bomber, but also covers advanced stealth layers. The radar reflection area of the aircraft is reduced to a super low level of about 0.1 square meters, and the B-2 bomber itself is even a visual feature. In order to reduce the visibility of B-2 when flying in the daytime, Northrop Grumman also specially sprayed anti-reflective paint on it. The dark bottom of the aircraft can also be well integrated into the sky background when the aircraft is flying at a height of 15,000 meters, avoiding ground personnel. The B-2's engine is also buried deep inside the fuselage, and the nozzle position is specially treated. All the exhaust heat will melt into a large amount of cold air, which reduces the red outer features of the bomber's tail. In order to ensure that B-2's stealth performance does not decline, the U.S. military has also invested a lot of resources. All B-2s need to enter a $5 million special air-conditioned hangar to avoid damage to the stealth coating. And every 7 years or so, the U.S. military needs to use crystallized wheat starch to clean the B-2's stealth coating carefully and check the surface of the B-2 for any scratches or scratches. But then again, the B-2's super stealth performance is not prepared for an opponent like Hussein's armament. The underground military facilities will still depend on the ability to deploy weapons and the killing power of the ammunition used by the aircraft. Speaking of which, we have to mention B-2's super stealth, GBU-57 Giant Bunker Buster. The GBU-57 is a large precision drilling-guided bomb called DBOC, designed by the U.S. Air Force for the B-2 bomber. It has surpassed the previous GBU-28. The explosive power is 3 times that of the Russian bomb. The weight of the GBU-57 is 12.3 tons with only 2.4 tons of bullet head. The explosive power is equivalent to 110 tons of TNT explosives. The killing radius is 650 meters. Its power is enough to penetrate the 65-meter thick, 35-meter thick concrete and the 40-meter thick ordinary rock. Needless to say, the GBU-57 is the most effective weapon to deal with underground targets. The U.S. intelligence network can't escape the U.S. intelligence network's surveillance and the GBU-57. However, considering the weight of a B-2, which is about 18 tons, the U.S. military has also equipped a Blue 109 bomb with a smaller size. The B-2 can carry 16 bombs. For most of 2,000 that are not worthy of the GBU-57, it is enough to send it to carry more than 10 explosive bombs at the same time. It is a great advantage to be able to use excavation tactics to continuously use multiple excavation bombs to bomb the same place. In this way, the second excavation bomb can continue to launch of the first excavation bomb. In this way, even if the single explosion of a small-sized excavation bomb is not very powerful, it can also achieve good results and even hit very deep targets. However, if you use a small-sized excavation bomb, then the B-52 bomber can actually do the job perfectly. It is really unnecessary to send the B-2. After all, the military power of the Hussein Armed Forces itself is not strong, and it is not a high-value target. However, similar actions have been carried out by the U.S. military in July 2020 to launch airstrikes on ISIS. At that time, 3 B-2 bombers took off from the Whiteman Air Force Base and crossed the Atlantic to Libya. 2 of the 3 planes were main forces and 1 was reserve. After approaching the target airspace, all unnecessary electronic devices were turned off to play the biggest stealth assault effect. 2 of the main B-2 bombers first entered the Libyan airspace and flew towards the 2 ISIS training camps in the southwest of the Sultanate. Before the bomber arrived, the MQ-9 drone had already kept a fixed surveillance of the battlefield. U.S. Special Operations troops would also wait around. However, the B-2 bomber would not bother its own colleagues. Under the fierce attack of nearly 100 AGM-114 Hellfire missiles and GBU-12 laser guidance bombs, the 2 ISIS camps were soon destroyed. And this action 4 years ago was often considered a U.S. military demonstration. Although the B-2 is not used to deal with ISIS, the U.S. military wants everyone to see the strongest combat power of the U.S. military from time to time. At present, there are 4 types of bombers, 923 under the U.S. Air Force. B-52, B-1B, and B-21 are also fully capable of fighting against the U.S. If the newly served B-21 will not have full combat power and say goodbye to such overseas combat operations, then the B-52 bomber is more suitable to fight against the U.S. You should know that the anti-aircraft firepower of the B-2 is very poor. In the past years, the Huzhu Armed Forces has been in a state where they can easily hit others without being hit by others. If we don't include high-range machine guns such as the B-2, The anti-aircraft missiles of the Huzhou Armed Forces are very limited. The main equipment of the Huzhou Armed Forces, such as SAM-6 and SAM-8. SAM-6 was first deployed in 1962. Judging from today's perspective, its guidance technology is significantly behind and uses a large number of electronic control components. It consumes electricity and does not dissipate heat. It uses wireless command guidance and flying end-to-end semi-active radar guidance. Its anti-aircraft hit rate is not high, and its ability to resist electronic interference is also very weak. Its lack of multi-target tracking capabilities makes it easy to lose the lock on the target. As for other anti-aircraft weapons, even the real anti-aircraft missiles are not included. Its anti-aircraft missiles have been converted into anti-aircraft missiles, such as R-73 anti-aircraft missiles, R-27 and R-77 anti-aircraft missiles. Although these modified missiles have also been enhanced the performance of the Huzhou Armed Forces in the anti-aircraft interception ability of the CPC, but the actual performance is very unstable and can only play in the most ideal environment. As for the so-called ultra-high-frequency missiles, there is no actual test evidence to prove the performance of the weapons. It is likely that the Huzhou Armed Forces acquired some missile devices to do military threats. In fact, the existing anti-aircraft firepower will be eliminated before the U.S. military takes action. To be honest, it is also difficult to pose a threat. Therefore, using B-52 to strike Huzhou. Armed Forces is also completely enough. In fact, the existing B-52H can carry a maximum of 32 tons of explosives. The B-52 is actually stronger. So the reason why the U.S. military wants to send B-2 instead of the B-52 is to launch a targeted strike on Huzhou Armed Forces. I'm afraid it's not long. The U.S. military wants to use the most powerful and even beyond the actual demand level bomber to warn the enemy forces behind the Huzhou Armed Forces. Don't really think you can fight the U.S. military. The U.S. military can blow up Huzhou today. The U.S. military can destroy your underground targets tomorrow. No matter how deep, no matter how solid it is, it's no use. And the U.S. military warns the enemy forces behind the Huzhou. Armed forces is probably Iran, because Iran's various underground nuclear facilities and underground defense systems are often mentioned. Among them, the most exposed are not only Iran's Ford underground nuclear facilities, but also various secret military bases. Because Iran has been under international pressure to develop nuclear weapons, it has already built a large number of military-level underground facilities. For example, the Natanz nuclear facility has a depth of at least 15 meters underground. It is also equipped with multi-layer defense methods and uses a large amount of reinforced concrete and food materials. It is also anti-molten. It is a well-known end-of-day treasure, and there are more than one such treasures. In February 2023, the Iranian military also announced the existence of a total of thousands of military level, such as the combat mission area, command post, hangar area, equipment maintenance area, and so on. And the Iranian military also has more than one underground base. The Iranian military even said, in other words, the underground Air Force base can still operate independently for several months in an emergency. It is not difficult to see from this information that Iran's underground military facilities are completely prepared for a high-intensity war. It is prepared for the United States and Israel. So, since the United States has learned that Iran has perfected underground facilities, of course it has to show its ability to attack various reinforced facilities and underground fortresses in the Middle East. Now, the U.S. Air Force has sent a B-2 bomber to tell Iran in action that moving military bases to underground reinforced facilities is not an all-out attack. Underground facilities may be able to guard one side, but the U.S. military's countermeasures have been more advanced year after year. As for the extent to which the U.S. military's ability to attack underground facilities has developed, you are also welcome to give your opinions in the comment section. Like and subscribe my channel. See you late time.